Hi, thank you for joining me today. Today we're going to be taking a look at some of the administration functions that are available for admin users inside of the SalesFUSION system. We are going to be focusing on the left-hand side of the administration screen, which is called Administrator. The CRM administration is talked about in a different class. Starting down here, we're actually going to begin at the Marketing Administration. The two areas up here, the user admin, is talking about global dashboards, geos and lists, roles, and users. And these are covered in different areas of the system. The second area is talking about external connectors, and this is for people who are using an external CRM such as Microsoft, NetSuite, Sage, SalesLogic, and more. I will touch on a couple of these as we get back up here, but first we're going to start at the Marketing Administration. Starting here, we're going to be taking a look at the Account Entry Alert HTML editor. Now, utilizing the lead scoring profiles, you can have what we call unknown account alerts go out as soon as somebody has touched your website and we don't know who they are. Those can become overwhelming pretty quickly, so the lead scoring allows you to minimize how many of those come out by setting a threshold that the person must meet before it goes out. By default, we do have our default alert, which is right here. And to change that default alert, you can come over here and you can add in your own information. You can add in your own logo. You can click on our Media Manager and upload an image that you may have in here. I'm just going to grab one of mine. We'll say that one. Insert it right in. You can change this up, make it say anything that you want. And this is to make it worthwhile for your sales team to receive and go, okay, I know exactly what this is and what to do with it. So you want to make sure the information here is catered to their needs so that they can take action on it. Again, this is the default alert, so this is the one that you will use standard. And then, of course, you can create additional ones under the lead scoring profile. Once you are done, click on Save. I'm going to cancel this because I actually do not want it to save. And we'll go back to our administration, and we'll take a look at our next area. The next area here is called Alias Web Keywords. Now, inside of the web forensics, when you are looking at the web forensics, you're going to see some odd keywords come across at times. So let's take a look at the web forensics, and let's just look at our keyword cloud. So here we have SalesFUSION, marketing, software, etc. This is an odd one. Again, this is coming in from the search engine. It's being pulled in by the query string, so we have no control over what comes back as the keyword that's coming from the search engine. So this is a little bit of a weird one. So what we can do is we can tell the system to ignore it. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back to my administration tab, and I'm going to go down to my alias web keywords. You can see we have a whole bunch of odd ones here. I would select new in the upper right-hand corner, and I would say ignore. And then I would put that in there and hit save. It's now ignoring it. If I go back to my keyword cloud by going to the web forensics and then the cloud, you're going to see that that keyword is no longer here as an option. So that's essentially just helping you clean the screen up just a little bit. If we go back to administration, our next area here is change tracking. Change tracking is part of the event listener module inside of the lead analyzer. So if you have your lead analyzer tab and you see the event listener here, this is part of that functionality. One of the features of the listener is to listen for an on update. Now, we aren't going to listen to every single field that exists inside of the system because that would take so much bandwidth. So what the change tracking does is you tell the system, these are the fields that I want to quote unquote listen to. You can only listen to the contact lead table. You would find your field that you want to listen to and move it over. And you would click on Track Change. By doing this, it's looking for any changes in this field, and then it's looking to see if there's any event listener rules set up to have any actions taken on that particular rule. Coming back to administration, if I scroll back down, you're going to see that we have an Entry Alert HTML editor and an Exit Alert HTML editor. These are web alerts similar to the account entry alerts, but the entry and exit alerts are for known or cookied people. If I am on your website and you see that my organization name is SalesFUSION and my email address is jamie@salesfusion.com, then that means I am a cookied person. You can receive entry alerts, which means that when the person first enters your website, an email can go out to the owner of the record or a role or a geo, letting them know that the person's now on your website. The exit alert is when the person leaves your website and they have ended their web session. Let me go ahead and look at what they looked at, how long did they stay on the pages, and that's what would go out. These, again, can be customized similar to the account. So if I go into the entry one, you can see that I'm presented with a WYSIWYG as well. I can customize this information here, change the background, change the colors of the text, anything I want to do here to make it look like it's mine. A lot of times people put their logo, they put their colors, they put additional information, and again, these are yours to customize. If I come back over here, again, entry and exit are created exactly the same. It just might show some different information. Looking down here, we have suppression lists, and suppression lists can be used in a variety of different ways. They can be used on your unsubscribe page. They can be used for email campaigns. They can be used for dialogues, and they can also be used for scoring. So let's talk about how each of those can be used using suppression lists. Let's start with the unsubscribe page. So with the standard unsubscribe page, what you're going to see is you're going to see a blank page that says to unsubscribe, enter your email address is there, and they unsubscribe from everything. But a lot of times people want to be able to give people the option of what do they want to unsubscribe from. For example, if you look at the SalesFUSION unsubscribe page, we're asking you, do you want to unsubscribe from everything? Do you want to unsubscribe from just the demo emails, just partner emails, or just webinars? So we're giving you an option. If I choose demos and I hit submit, this is telling the system I'm enrolled into the demo suppression list. The way that you use the suppression list together with an email campaign is if I am doing an email campaign, I have to go to the Send To tab, find this demo suppression list, and exclude it out so that the system knows, okay, these people will be taken out of the email because they no longer want to receive demo emails. And once we build one of these, I'll go ahead and show you how to do that inside of the Email Designer. So if I come over here to add another option to the screen, I would create a suppression list. So I'd come to suppression list. I would say new list and give it a name. I'm going to call this one Client Services. If you are using it on the unsubscribe page, you do not check domain level because it's going to be at an individual per person basis. I click on Save, and I'm going to be presented with the suppression list properties. I can enter a list description if I wanted to. I can come here and I would say unsubscribe page. It's saying is if this option is selected, then it will appear on the web unsubscribe page as a category for opt-out. Again, it cannot be used with this domain suppression, only individual emails. If I were to hit Save and Return, and I were to refresh my page, you see that we now have Client Services as an option to unsubscribe from. So you would simply create as many suppression lists as you needed for however many options you wanted to give the person. I am actually going to go ahead and delete that because I actually don't want that on there. So I'm going to delete it. And I'm going to refresh. And you can see it's gone away now. The one important thing to note is that if you are using an external CRM, Microsoft, Sage, SalesLogix, etc., these suppression lists do not map anywhere inside of your CRM nor inside of the record. They exist only in SalesFUSION. If you want these preferences to be saved to the contact or lead record and be pushed over to your external CRM, you would need to create more of what we call a Manager Preferences page using the SalesFUSION dialogues. Let me go ahead and show you how to add a suppression list or exclude a suppression list from the designer. So to do that, you'd open up your campaign, whether it be an email, a drip, or a trigger. You would go to the Send To tab. And right here, it says Subscriber List. You would find your list and say Exclude. Now the system knows that anybody who says they no longer want to receive demo emails will be taken out of this email. Okay? Let's go and look at the other ways that you can use suppression lists. So I'm going to go back to the Administration tab, click on Administration, and go down to Suppression List. I'm going to create a new list, and this one we'll just call Training. We'll give it today's date and call it Training. This time I am going to suppress at the domain level, and I'm going to click on Save. Now let's look at our other options. You can see Unsubscribe Page is grayed out. But with the domain suppression, I can say do not let the system send any email to any domain that is listed here. So I can put in competitor emails. I can put in freeware emails. I can put in anything I want if I don't want those people to receive it. You can do dialog suppression, which will prevent anybody from entering that domain when completing a dialog form. And then you have scoring suppression list, which will tell the system, do not score any record that contains that particular domain. This is good for if you don't want your own internal people to be scored and qualified as leads. It's also good for competitors, just in case they get into your system somehow, you're not scoring them and sending them all types of different information about your company. To add a domain, you simply come down here and you can manually add one by one, or you can import in a CSV. I'm going to manually add by creating add, and I would put in something like competitor.com. You don't need the www, you don't need the @ symbol, simply the domain. Click add. I'm going to go ahead and hit save and return, and I'm going to go ahead and delete that one just in case. And we're going to go back to our admin screen. Our next area is the unsubscribe HTML editor, which I was on there just a moment ago. And what it does is it allows you to create a header for your unsubscribe page. By default, your unsubscribe page in SalesFUSION is going to look just like this. Everything highlighted is the only thing that's going to be on it. But you can add more information above it by adding your logo, directing people back to your website, telling them, please don't unsubscribe, we'll stop sending you bad emails and send you good emails. Anything you want to put here. Well, I commonly have people ask, well, how do you support other languages? Is it only in English? And what I recommend to people that are doing business, and primarily in other countries with different languages, is to repeat this information in the other language, right in the header. A lot of times when you go to an unsubscribe page, you will see it in Spanish, you'll see it in English, and then maybe you'll see it in, let's just say, French, depending on where your market is. And that's definitely something you can do as well. Looking back under here, under General, we have a lot more options. We have customer logs. Customer logs are very technical in nature. They are talking about the syncing. It's telling you what's syncing with your external CRM, how often it's syncing. And again, they're very technical to read. So if you're not a technical person, this is not going to mean anything to you. So I come back here to Administration. We also have Folder Organization, and this uses the Microsoft Silverlight software. If you don't have it, you will need to install it. But it allows you to find all the different folders that you've created inside of SalesFUSION and organize them. So for example, I can come here under Jamie, and I can say, you know what, this one, I'm going to go ahead and put it with Michael's here. And it moves it. This one, yep, I'm going to put that over here to Michael's as well. Then I can go to Surveys, or I can go to Customer, and I can, again, grab and drop anywhere I want to. So this is a quick way. You can change it looking at dialogues, distribution lists, drip campaigns, anywhere where there's a folder structure, you can come in here and organize. Looking back on Administration, we also have General Attributes, and this is where you're going to configure a lot of your settings. So some of the settings that you can configure is the CRM. If you're using the SalesFUSION CRM here, then you can configure the way that fields and columns are rendered on the tables, as well as some of the dashboards. You can set a default template for the appointment reminder as well as the activity reminder. You can rearrange the opportunity funnel and how it's appearing. You can also look at the hot leads columns and say, some of this information is not relevant, some of it is. Here's what I want to see on that particular report. And then you also have call down columns, which again allows you to customize what information is shown on that table. This is at an account level, not a user level. So if you make a change to it, it's changing it for everybody. So I come up with a consensus on what you'd like to see on that screen and have somebody come in here and do it. We also have dashboards where, again, you can rearrange the dashboards. For example, the marketing dashboard, which is the standard dashboard inside of every contact and lead where we're showing web activity, email sent, and so forth. And you can say, well, even though the recent web activity is the first one shown, maybe I want the dialogues to be the first one shown. So you get an option of moving things around. We also have the Allow CC on Composed Email. That, again, is on the marketing dashboard where you can turn that feature off or on depending on your preferences. The leads by lead status and the marketing to sales pipeline are referring to the leads dashboard right here inside of SalesFUSION. If you are not using the SalesFUSION CRM for opportunities, then this information is null and void. Moving over, we have our dialogues where you can have a default privacy policy link here that will appear with every new dialogue you create. And then you can also have a default inactive notice to where you don't have to set this up every single time you create a dialogue. This can be your new default inactive notice. We have emails, and right now these are just placeholders. Eventually, in an upcoming feature, we will have the ability to have a default value for a record that does not have a first name, last name, or account name, and the email is using personalization. So instead of appearing blank, it would say, Dear Valued Customer, or thank you for your being with customer name, and anything you want to have populate there. Again, that has not been released yet, but it will be something up and coming in the future. You also get a common footer here where you can add a common footer that will appear on every single email by default. Don't need to do anything, it will automatically appear. Next, we have forward, and this is where you can customize the forward to a friend header and the forward to a friend footer. So you can have information above and below the boxes to say whatever you want it to say. Privacy is referring to do not track, where you can tell the system not to track particular countries due to privacy laws. Some countries are more strict than others, such as the UK, where they are having issues with people being cookied, and you have to ask permission for cookies first. So some people say enable the do not track, and they say don't cookie anybody coming in from Albania. Reporting over here is telling you minimum page views for your report, as well as a Geo Reports link. On your Geo Reports, do you want it to have a link to CRM feature? We also have the soft bounce. Now, a lot of times I have to explain to people that there is a difference between hard bounces and soft bounces. A hard bounce is where it is completely undeliverable and the recipient server completely rejected it. These are commonly policy-related, spam-related, bad domain, bad emails. Means we will never send to them again. A soft bounce is where you have an email that goes out and the recipient server accepts it, tells us it was delivered, but then for some reason it soft bounces. These are your out of offices. These are your transient failures. These are virus notifications. It means that we have considered them delivered, but they did soft bounce. Some people like to track soft bounces so that if they soft bounce more than once or twice or 3 times, then they get marked as undeliverable and taken out of the system. You do get the ability to look at the soft bounce code and say, if we have a soft bounce that comes back 5 times, let's go ahead and mark it as undeliverable. Or maybe just 1 time on this one, mark it as undeliverable. There is a configuration setting that you need to set up for us to be able to track soft bounces. By default, we don't track them, so we have to get that set up to be able to do so. We also have the unsubscribe, where you can do your header in this area, or you can come down here and also do a footer. Again, lots of options. And Lastly, we have our Save button up here where you can go ahead and save all the details you've been working on. As a best practice, what I would do is I would save as I'm going. So as you set some properties for, let's say, the dashboard or for the dialogues, go ahead and save it as you go, just in case you accidentally close out a browser. You don't have to come back and redo all this information all over again. I'm going to go ahead and hit Save here. And since we were just talking about the soft bounces, I'm going to show you where to actually set those up. So to set those up, we're going to go back to administration here. And we're going to go down, and right under external connectors, there's a link that says Pop Email for Soft Bounce. If I click on that, it's going to present with a soft bounce mailbox where I'm going to add in the pop configuration settings where all those bounces are going back to. The bounces will be going back to whoever's in the From Sender and the email designer. So if you have it going back to company at company.com, that's what needs to be configured here. Click on Add, and it's going to ask you for a username. I'm going to put in training. Click on Save, and you'd have to set your pop configurations. You should be able to get all of this information from your main email client. If you send from different emails, such as no-reply@company.com, marketing@company.com, and sales@company.com, you will need to add 3 soft bounce setups for us to be able to track it. I'm going to go ahead and cancel this. I'm going to delete that one out. And we're going to come back to our administration. We also have IP address rules where you can set up blocking based on IP. If I select New here, you would enter an IP range. If it's the same exact IP, you enter it for both the begin as well as the end. And then you have actions, and your actions are to allow CRM access if you're using an external CRM. You can block dialogue access, and then you can also ignore web analytics. So these are just some of the options that are available to you if you want to block by IP. Let's go back to administration. The next area is looking at the job status. Job status is where you can come in here and you can see jobs in progress, such as a file import. You can see when it was originally received, and then you can see when it was actually processed. For example, this one here, it says upload contact completed. It was started at 10 o'clock, and it was stopped at 10:29, or completed at 10:29. This is a good place to go if you do a lot of rescores, if you do a lot of uploads, and you just want to kind of get an update. This is where you would go to see that information. We also have Web Analytics category, which has not been released just yet, but this will allow you to track subsites. And then we have the web tracking code, where you can always come in here and grab your analytics code to place on your website or microsites to be able to log the analytics with SalesFUSION. The last area that I do want to mention is actually up here, and it's talking about the sources. Sources are where you can enter external connector information if your account has access to some of these features, such as the event management and the GoToMeeting or GoToWebinar credentials. If you want to enter your Jigsaw information to have our Jigsaw integration, you can enter your YouTube, your WebEx, your Hoovers. All of this information can be entered right here and is all served for a variety of purposes. Again, these features are mostly limited by subscription plans. So if you've never heard of the Jigsaw integration, check and make sure that your plan actually includes it. If it does and you need more information on it, please reach out to your sales rep or your SalesFUSION account rep, and they'll be able to assist you with that information. Again, these are just some of the features and functions of the admin tool inside of SalesFUSION. If you have any questions or concerns, we do have a great learning management tool here under Learning Management. And we also have our online help here where you can use as a quick reference to search. As always, I thank you for joining me, and I hope you have a great day. Thank you.